Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you're part of our journey. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and get ready for a story that will leave you thinking. And if you love inspiring tales, a like goes a long way. No ticket, no ride. The bus driver's words cut through the storm as sharply as the rain. The young woman stood shivering, her soaked clothes clinging to her trembling frame, desperation painted across her face. Lightning flashed, illuminating the empty street where nobody stopped to help. The bus shelter offered little protection from the downpour. Water dripped from her hair as she pleaded, voice breaking. The driver's expression remained stone cold behind the wheel, passengers averting their eyes through foggy windows. Nobody wanted to get involved on this miserable night. What they didn't notice was the man in the back of the bus. He'd been watching silently, his face partially hidden beneath a damp baseball cap, eyes focused on the scene unfolding through the rain-streaked glass. Something in his expression changed. A quiet decision made as he rose from his seat. If this moment made you feel something, imagine what's coming next. Hit that like button and stay with us. Subscribe now. The girl couldn't have been more than 22, her mascara running in dark streaks down her pale cheeks. Her thin jacket, never meant for this kind of downpour, hung heavy with rainwater. "Please," she said again, voice barely audible above the storm. "My bag was stolen. I have no money, no phone. I just need to get home." The driver shook his head, unmoved. Rules were rules, and he'd heard every excuse in his 15 years behind the wheel. Outside, the digital clock on the bus terminal blinked 11:47 p.m. The last bus of the night. A businessman hurried past, collar turned up against the rain, eyes deliberately focused on the sidewalk ahead. A couple huddled under a shared umbrella quickened their pace, whispering to each other. Nobody wanted to get involved. The girl stepped back, shoulders slumping in defeat. The bus door began to close with a mechanical hiss, finality in its sound. She would spend the night in the rain, 5 miles from home, in a neighborhood where shadows moved in dark corners and streetlights flickered uncertainly. Inside the warm bus, passengers stared at phones or out windows, a collective agreement to ignore the scene playing out at the door. The man in the back stood up. Something in his movement caught attention, deliberate yet unhurried. He made his way down the aisle, steady against the bus's idle rumble. Rain hammered against the roof as lightning split the sky, briefly illuminating his features. A woman gasped softly, nudging her companion. Whispers rippled through the bus. Even in the dim light, with his hair wet and beard slightly unkempt, there was no mistaking him. The driver's hand hovered over the door control, waiting. The girl outside had turned away, resigned to her fate, unaware that Keanu Reeves was about to step into her story on this rain-soaked night. Things are about to take a turn. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe, like our video, and keep watching. "Excuse me," Keanu said, his voice quiet but carrying a weight that commanded attention. The driver looked up, recognition flickering across his face. "I'd like to pay for her ticket." He reached into his pocket, pulling out his wallet. The simple gesture broke through the collective apathy that had settled over the bus. Passengers straightened in their seats, phones lowered, conversations halted. Outside, the girl remained unaware, having stepped further into the rain, arms wrapped around herself in a futile attempt at warmth. "It's against policy," the driver said, though his tone had lost its edge. She could be anyone, could be trouble. His fingers drummed nervously on the steering wheel as he weighed company policy against the man standing before him. "We've had people try to scam free rides before. Management's been clear about—" "She's not trouble," Keanu interrupted gently. "She's just someone who needs help." He placed a $20 bill on the fare box. "This should cover it, right?" His eyes, kind but unwavering, held the driver's gaze. The moment stretched between them, a silent battle of wills in which both men knew who would prevail. Around them, phones were discreetly raised, recording the encounter. A woman in the front row smiled approvingly. A teenager whispered excitedly to his friend. "Look at her," Keanu continued, gesturing toward the window where the girl had begun walking away, shoulders hunched against the rain. "We've all been there, haven't we? One bad day away from needing someone's kindness." The words hung in the air, simple yet profound, touching something fundamental in everyone who heard them. The driver's resistance crumbled visibly. With a sigh that was half surrender and half relief, he pressed the button. The doors hissed open. "Miss," he called out, his voice carrying through the storm. "Miss, wait." The girl turned, confusion replacing despair as she saw the open door. Keanu stepped down onto the wet pavement, rain immediately soaking through his simple black jacket. He gestured toward the warmth of the bus. "Your ride's taken care of," he said simply. Recognition dawned slowly on her face, first gratitude for the kindness, then shock as she realized who stood before her. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Behind them, phones recorded furiously through rain-streaked windows. A story was unfolding that would soon travel across social media, but neither the soaked girl nor the rain-drenched actor seemed aware of their audience in that moment. This story is only getting deeper. What would you do in this situation? Comment below, and let's talk. I know who you are," the girl finally stammered, raindrops mixing with tears on her cheeks. Keanu smiled slightly, that famous half-smile that had graced movie screens for decades. "I'm just someone trying to get out of the rain too," he replied. The simplicity and humility in his words made several passengers exchange glances. The driver, now standing, watched the interaction with growing emotion evident on his weathered face. "You don't understand," she continued, voice breaking. "I've been having the worst day, week, month of my life. My apartment flooded, I lost my job, and now this." She gestured helplessly at her soaked clothes, the empty bus stop, the unforgiving night. "I thought no one in this city cared anymore. I thought I was invisible." Keanu stepped aside, gesturing toward the bus entrance. "Nobody's invisible," he said quietly. "Sometimes people just forget to look." An elderly woman inside the bus dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. A young man who had been pointedly ignoring the situation earlier now looked ashamed. The girl climbed aboard, dripping water onto the rubber floor mat. When she reached for the fare box out of habit, the driver shook his head. "It's covered," he said, his earlier coldness replaced with genuine warmth. "And I'm sorry. I should have..." He paused, searching for words. "I should have been kinder." The admission hung in the air, simple yet powerful. Keanu followed the girl onto the bus, his presence transforming the atmosphere. The passengers who had been so determinedly disconnected now seemed united, witnesses to something unexpectedly meaningful. As the girl found a seat, an older woman offered her a cardigan from her bag. "You're soaked, dear. Take it." Someone else handed her a travel-size tissue pack. A teenager awkwardly extended his unopened water bottle. What had been a bus full of strangers was transforming before everyone's eyes, a small community emerging from collective indifference. Keanu took his original seat at the back, declining the flurry of offers to sit elsewhere. He seemed content to fade into the background, but the energy he had catalyzed continued to flow through the bus. The driver caught his eye in the rearview mirror and nodded, a silent acknowledgement of the lesson learned. As the bus pulled away from the curb, slicing through sheets of rain, phones were quietly lowered. Some things felt too genuine to reduce to viral content, though many would share the story later. It's not over yet. The best part is coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. The story spread across social media within hours. Blurry photos and shaky videos captured fragments of the moment. Keanu standing in the rain, the girl's astonished face, the transformation of a busload of strangers. By morning, number Keanu bus kindness was trending. News outlets picked up the story, each adding their own headline. Keanu Reeves teaches masterclass in humanity at bus stop, and John Wick star battles real villain indifference. But none captured what had truly happened that night. The girl, identified only as Mia in later interviews, described how the simple act had restored her faith. "It wasn't just that he paid for my ticket," she told reporters. "It was that he made everyone see me when I felt invisible." The bus driver came forward too, his honesty remarkable in its simplicity. "I've been driving that route for 15 years, and I stopped seeing people. I started seeing problems, policies, schedules." His voice cracked during the interview. "It took Keanu Reeves to remind me what my job is really about." The transit company, initially concerned about policy violations, changed course when public reaction overwhelmingly supported the driver's change of heart. Around the city, something shifted. Reports emerged of bus drivers allowing stranded passengers aboard, of strangers paying forward fares, of small kindnesses multiplying. For a brief moment, a city known for its indifference remembered how to see each other. The story became bigger than celebrity. It became about reconnection. Keanu himself never commented publicly on the incident. When asked by persistent reporters at his next film premiere, he simply smiled and deflected. It was raining. Everyone needed to get home. His humility only amplified the story's impact. The simplicity of his kindness, absent of any desire for recognition, spoke volumes. Months later, a small plaque appeared at that bus stop, installed unofficially overnight. It read simply, "Remember to look. Remember to see. Remember to be kind." Nobody knew who placed it there, but passengers waiting for buses would touch it like a talisman. In a world hungry for heroes and capes, Keanu had reminded everyone that true heroism often wore a rain-soaked jacket instead, and that anyone could choose to be that hero on any rain-soaked night. Wow, what a story! If this moved you, imagine what else we have for you. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and let us know what you think.